Hello, everybody. For those of you who haven't seen the movie The Amazing Spider-Man 2, don't watch this. I'm going to spoil it a little as I discuss the points. And okay, well, first off, a few things. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. Everybody, whether it's good or bad, you're entitled to it. It's just you need to have a reason for having that opinion. In my case, I like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I liked it a lot. And if the movie's not for you, it's not for you. I've seen movies that people enjoy the hell out of. I like. Okay, well, I'll throw one out. It's a mixed bag for a lot of people. I think over time people have come to realize this movie was kind of it was average, and that's how I feel about it. And that's Avatar, not the Last Airbender. That everybody agrees that movie was shit, garbage. But Avatar, the James Cameron film, I didn't like it when it first came out. I didn't care much for it, but people were praising it for its CGI and all that stuff. 90% of that movie was CGI. And that's where I was like, they may as well have just made the whole damn thing CGI. It may as well have just been one big CGI movie, and it would have been the exact same, and I would have been okay with that. But that movie just didn't do it for me. I mean, I felt like I was watching a modernized sci-fi version of Dances with Wolves meets Pocahontas meets Fern Gully, and a lot of people hate it for the whole hammering the whole tree hugger message of we need to save the environment and all that stuff. Back then, yeah, people I could kind of see that, but if you look at it now, our environment is kind of turning into shit, so I can't really hate it for that. But when it comes to the Amazing Spider-Man 2, a lot of people didn't like it. A couple of reasons would be too many villains, which if you get down to the nitty-gritty details, if you want to nitpick it all the way down, there's technically only 1.5 villain in this entire thing. You have like 2 minutes of Rhino, and he's not even Rhino yet. And then you have Electro pretty much throughout the entire film. And then you have Harry kind of flip-flop his way down to becoming the Green Goblin. And the Green Goblin's in it for like a whopping 5 minutes. Now, I will agree, he was shoehorned into this film. He really was. What they should have done was either have him turn into the Green Goblin like at the very end, like the absolute very end, and you just see like a thing of him with the Goblin's face, and that be the end. Like, you see the face, that he's the Goblin now, and then end. And that should help set the tone for the next film. But the problem is, this one's nothing more than sequel baiting for Sinister Six, which that was something that I just was like, why? The only reason the Green Goblin was shoved into this movie, and the only reason that, yes, Gwen Stacy dies, the only reason her death was in the film was so they could set up for the Sinister Six. It was like, all right, we need to get Gwen Stacy out of the way, 'cause she's kind of not involved with the whole Sinister Six deal. And another thing, and Jeremy Johns brought this up, was it shouldn't have been Rhino that makes him become Spider-Man again. It should have ended with him looking at her grave and just saying, I'm never going to be Spider-Man again, and then maybe symbolically, like, not toss the mask down. Or actually, yeah, toss the mask down, because people still wouldn't know that it was Peter. Because the people that we do know kind of have an inkling that he is, Spider-Man. Like, his aunt, like Aunt May, kind of has an idea that he probably is Spider-Man, but it's not, it's like, they know, but they don't let on that they know, if you will. Like, she doesn't outright say, are you Spider-Man? Or, I know you're Spider-Man. She just kind of has, like, this thing, like, he's doing stuff that's putting his life in danger, and I need to reach out to him and stuff like that. But, so I think it should have been with that. And then once the Sinister Six show up, then Spider-Man becomes Spider-Man again. And that's how I think that should have been it. Like, you have the Sinister Six movie, then Spider-Man 3, the Amazing Spider-Man 3, rather, where he becomes Spider-Man again, and he kicks the shit out of the Sinister Six. And maybe Harry has a change of heart or something. I don't know. But some other people were kind of upset that Norman Osborn gets killed within minutes of the film starting. I mean, no shit, he dies within the first 15 minutes. And some people were saying he already was the Green Goblin because he was already green and shit. And it's like, no, not really. He was just Norman Osborn with a really bad disease that Harry now has. And there were some plot inconsistencies, but it's a comic book movie. It's gonna have that shit. But the only one that I really got irked about was when Norman Osborn is 60, 50, whatever years old. He's old either way, and Harry's 20 in this. So is Peter Parker, Emma Stone. They're all in their they just turned 20, and he's already deteriorating. He's like, I'm dying, Peter. I need you to get to Spider-Man and all this other crap. I'm like, but wait, but your dad died when he was 50 or some odd. And you're 20, so you've got about 30 years-ish until this disease really starts kicking your ass. So why the big rush? And another thing that I was just was, what's her face? Felicity, the girl that becomes Black Cat later on. I think she's going to become Black Cat later on down the line. is she tells Harry, like, after he's, spoken to Harry, or spoken to Peter, and spoken to Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's like, no, fuck you, I'm not giving you my blood, we don't know what will happen. Then he just takes off. So he would have been no better off doing that than if he had just not showed up at all, not just, just said, nah, I'm sorry. And then, if he asked Peter, like, hey, Peter, where's Spider-Man? He's like, oh, I'm trying, man, I really am. But I don't think he's going to give you his blood because he doesn't know that, he doesn't know what it's going to do. And, like, you saw what it did to the green lizard, dude. But Harry's just like, no, I need it, it'll save me. And then he gets the venom, he sticks it in him, and, because it's only compatible with Harry's father, or, fuck, it's only compatible with Peter's father, then it won't work for him. It'll only work for people that are directly descended from Peter's father, so Peter's kids, their kids, etc. And so, either way, the virus is going to fuck him up. And it does. And he says, hey, Harry, or Peter, look at what you made me do. Look at what you made me become. No, that actually it wasn't Peter's fault, so why are you upset? And I was just kind of confused. I was like, no, you resorted to a drastic measure to heal yourself. It didn't pan out. And what makes you think, because you have the spider's venom, which gave Spider-Man his powers, so technically it shouldn't have mattered if you got his blood or his venom. So either way, you were fucked. And you're saying he made you do that? No. If anything, he proved himself right. He proved you wrong. And you fucked up. And then he says, like, you took all my happiness away from me. No, he didn't. And that was the big thing that bothered me. I'm like, why did they have to fucking throw the Green Goblin in here when they could have just built the movie off Electro and Spider-Man, where Spider-Man questions if he really is a hero because Electro admired him, and because of some misunderstanding circumstances, Electro perceived Spider-Man as like, you don't care, you're not a hero, and all this other stuff. And like, Gwen Stacy could have lived an extra movie. They could have held off the Sinister Six for another whatever. Hell, they could have released it side by side with Spider-Man 3. You have Spider-Man 2 now. Next year, or the year after, or whatever, you do the Amazing Spider-Man 3, and then maybe 6 months down the line, you release Sinister Six. Because, with the Marvel movies, we're getting a couple a year. We're not getting like one per year. And you can do them back to back, side by side. Hell, they filmed the Lord of the Rings films back to back. They filmed the Hobbit movies back to back. A lot of the Game of Thrones series, I think, are filmed, or not the episodes themselves are filmed back to back, so they can do that. But a lot of TV shows do that. Why can't Sony do this? The problem is they're not thinking about how much money can we make down the line. They're thinking of how much money can we make now, right now. So they're like, all right, we need a sequel bait. Amazing Spider-Man 2 was nothing more than a big sequel bait. And I get that. See, all these complaints I get. But the film on its own, how does it stand? I loved Electro. Jamie Foxx killed it as Electro. I fucking loved him as Electro. That was a great interpretation of that villain. Just wonderful. You felt sorry for him, but at the same time, you're like, he's a threat. He's got to be taken down and stuff like that. And Spider-Man doesn't want to kill him. He wanted to reach out to him and tell him, like, hey, dude, hey, come on, let's calm down. And just shit happened. Circumstances happen. And, he was already a damaged guy to begin with because he'd been treated like shit his whole life. And he's like, I have this power. I can take revenge on everybody that I fucking hate. I'm going to do it. And so that happens. And Emma Stone, of course, kills it as Gwen Stacy. I think she's wonderful. I like her a lot more than Kristen Dunst. And I'm glad they didn't shoehorn Mary Jane into this. I'm glad they got rid of Mary Jane, at least for this movie. Should they have included her maybe a couple of scenes here and there? Sure, why not? Maybe like some 2-minute scenes where him and his aunt are like jibber jabbering about, bullshit, like, oh, laundry talk, which I thought that scene was so stupid. It was stupid. I was like, why is this going on? This is such a pointless scene. I don't get it. Like, I get the whole point that it's Aunt May wants to take care of him because she cares about him like he's her son, which she should feel that way, but at the same time, I'm like, this isn't how you get that message across. Like, the scene that they have later on where Harry or Peter's, I keep mixing up Peter and Harry. I don't know why. They're two totally different people, but Peter's talking to her about his dad, about his dad, and she's like, I don't know, it's like, your dad did some shit that I don't know, and she tells him, they're like, hey, your dad was a traitor to the country, he fled and just left you here. And so she's just like, fuck your father. Like, he left you. I took care of you. I raised you. You're my son. I may not have birthed you, but you are my son. And he says, yeah, you're my mom. You may be my aunt, like by law you are my aunt, but you're still my guardian. You're still my mother. And then he goes and he figures out that his dad was actually a good guy. He was trying to tell Norman, where to fucking stick it, and he basically said "fuck you" and put his blood into the whole spider venom deal, so that it would only affect his bloodline. So he, basically out Osborn the Osborn. So you had those scenes with Aunt May. Some were good, and then, like I said, the laundry one was just stupid. And then you have some scenes with Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker where, they're both trying to juggle their lives. It's conflicting. It's like they love each other, but at the same time, it's like Peter's like, he made that promise to her dad that he will keep her out of it. He will stay away from her as long as he is Spider-Man. And he does that he's like, he wants it both ways, but he can't have it both ways. And she says, you know what, just stick with me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And she kind of doesn't get it. He does. So I agree more with Peter than I do with Gwen. But at the same time, I mean, if he, I don't know. I was going to say, maybe if he didn't tell Gwen Stacy that he was Spider-Man, maybe we could have had a little more drama. But it was fine as it was. I liked it. I liked all their scenes together. They were cute and stuff like that. They were fine. I don't know why people are all up in arms over those scenes. What's some other positives we can think of? Of course, Andrew Garfield does a great job as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man. And people were like, "Oh, we had 40 minutes without Spider-Man." Big fucking whoop. Iron Man 3, majority of the time it was just Tony Stark. Although some people were kind of miffed about that movie, and I didn't like it. That was probably the worst Iron Man movie. I would say it was worse than number 2. God, I look greasy. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the lighting, but all right. Excuse me. Now, how did I feel about Rhino for the couple of minutes that he was in at the end? Because I forgot to mention that he's also in the last thing. And a lot of people are miffed about the last scene is shown in the previews. Yeah, a lot of fucking movies are guilty of that. See Quarantine. It's guilty. It gives away the ending. Which, that scene being the last one isn't really as bad, but it is a tease. It's like, oh, he's going to fight Rhino. Yeah, that's the last shot. He just swings the thing at Rhino and then cut to credits. So I get it. I get that. But a lot of movies have done that. So I'm like, it's been done before. It's going to continue to happen, And another thing that this just drives me through the fucking roof. Not to the point where I want to rant, but just to the point where I'm like, get over it. I don't care. It doesn't affect the fucking film. It's there. Deal with it. And that's product placement. Movies need sponsorship. They need money. Therefore, they need sponsorship. What do they? How do they pay or get said sponsorship? They advertise in the movies. They do it. It's business. Get over it. It's gonna happen. Nothing you do or say is gonna change that. It's gonna happen. Okay, maybe I am a little bit of a ranter here, but just get over it. Find other things to complain about, like Green Goblin being shoehorned. I get it. The trailer having the last scene of the movie. I get it. Some of the other stuff going on in the film, I get it. Totally get it. Some people are miffed how Gwen Stacy died. I get it. It's not like how it is in the comics. It doesn't necessarily have to be like it is in the comics. I think the way they did it was fine. You knew it was coming. If you have read the comics, you knew it was coming. Me, I've read some of the Spider-Man comics, but this was years ago, like a long fucking thing. I think I was like 12, and I read this stuff, so it's been a good 10 years, more than 10 years actually. It's been 11. But it's like, all right, in the comics, it's, the Green Goblin has, and they did it in the first Spider-Man movie, the first Sam Raimi one, where he has, I think it was like a bus full of kids or something like that, or a bus full of people, or one of those things full of people. Either way, something full of people. And then he had Kristen Dunst, a.k.a. Mary Jane. And he said, all right, Spider-Man, which one are you? Choose. And then he drops them both. And Spider-Man manages to defy the odds and say both of them. And this one, I think it should have been that. It should have said, all right, Spider-Man, let's see if you really are the hero. Which do you choose? The people of the city you claim to protect, or the woman you love? All right, Spider-Man, let's see what hero you are. It's time to choose. Kind of the same way they did it in the first one. It should have been this, and it should have been like that in this one. And, he shoots the web, it catches her leg, and then he swings and saves the trolley or whatever. Then he goes to Kristen Dunst. He goes to Gwen Stacy, and, oh, sorry, the snag, snapped her neck. And so you're kind of left hanging. This one, it's like, they tease it, and then it happens, and then you see her head like smack the cement. Which, to be fair, her head should have, like, the back of her head should have been mashed in. But this is a PG-13 film, so I know why they didn't do it. I think there should have been, like, maybe a little bit of blood splatter, kind of, slowly drifting out, like just a little bit of blood, because she died. Okay, a person died. You can be a little grotesque, not little. Yeah, you can be a little grotesque. You can show like a little blood splatter, but maybe that was just too much for them. So, or that, or maybe I don't know. It felt a little, soft. If you catch my drift, because I mean, her head fucking smacked some cement, and she was falling full force downward. So yeah. Or maybe it should have hit her chest, and then it just snaps her spine, and it's like, ooh, that had to fucking hurt. Like, he just happens to miss. Like, he shoots it, and then he gets, his hand gets knocked. Like, he shoots it, his hand gets knocked, or his hand gets knocked, then he shoots by, maybe a gear smacking it, and he's just like, oh, I'm trying to direct it, and then it, like, slides past her hand, and then hits her chest, and then snap, or something like that. So, my overall consensus on the movie is that it's good. It's a good summer film. It's a good action film. It's fun. It's not meant to be dark and soapy like fucking The Dark Knight. I don't hold it to that standard. I hold it to a standard of a Spider-Man movie. And it did its job. It did its job well. And yeah, there were a lot of things in it that pissed me off, but there were just as many that made me feel good about it. In fact, there were a little bit more things that made me feel good about it. I walked out feeling okay about the film. I didn't get miffed about product placement that everybody else was like, oh my god, look at all the product placement and advertising. Oh my god, it drives me insane. Like, find something else to bitch about, dude. Like the Green Goblin, fine. Now I'm just repeating myself, but you get my point. People need to calm the fuck down. Like, they're owed something. They need to calm the fuck down. Can this movie is this movie immune from criticism? Absolutely not. There are many things, and I named them, that you could pick on the movie for. There are plenty of things in the first Amazing Spider-Man you can pick on it for. And there are plenty of things in the Sam Raimi films, particularly Spider-Man 3, but we shall not speak of that one, that you can pick apart and just say, this movie was shit, because Spider-Man 3 was shit. None of them have topped Spider-Man 2, which was easily the best one. And the guy, I forgot his name, that played Dr. Octopus, he killed it. He nailed it. I was like, oh, this is Dr. Octopus just as I imagined him. And I'm a big Spider-Man fan. I love Spider-Man. And this movie satisfied me. So, what did you guys think? Just let me know in a comment, obviously.